You got to love it here in the city. Our heart beats stronger.
Free socks.
The NHL playoff picture is still up in the air, but here in Winnipeg, fans are confident the arena will echo with the sound of white noise again.
Free socks.
Let's go! Go, Jets, go! Winnipeg is back in the big leagues and over the moon.
Welcome back to the landing strip, brought to you by Top Line Media and From Financial. And boy, is it ever fun to log on and do these shows right now. This is an absolute scorcher. Choices TK puts it best before we even get into introducing Mikey here. 34 out of a possible 40 points in the first 20 games. Already a third of the way to 100 points in a quarter of the games played. It's just an absolute heater of a start. Don't wake me or the Jets up, and I feel that completely. This was an absolute slaughtering of the Pittsburgh Penguins. Mikey, I know you're over there. Let's get into it, buddy. How you doing tonight?
Doing pretty good. That was, just an absolute beatdown tonight. As badly as the Jets got smacked around by Florida last time, the Jets did the same thing to poor Pittsburgh tonight. So, that was two different classes of teams out there. It was great.
And on this Friday night, after watching a mauling like that, you know how we have to start this show, Mikey.
Oh, yeah. It is time.
You know how we have to start it. Get the vibes going up in here. Let's go. $17, 3-0. Insane.
We're going to be listening to that all year.
We might be at this point. We're 20 games in. Listen to it 17 times.
This is the about quarter way, man. This is we're going to be listening to a lot of Squirtle going forward.
85% of the time. So if we could keep that going over 82, let's get it cooking. That song just gets the vibes going for me. I'm fired up. I imagine the chat's going to be fired up today. What's your thoughts on this one, Mikey? Let's get into that before we open this thing up.
Yeah, that was, we talked about it a little bit quickly just off air. It's almost hard seeing the Pittsburgh Penguins so just defeated. That's just a shell of that team, from when they were at their peak way back when. So it's nice to see that the Jets are finally the team that are going around and, they're the ones being chased now. They're the ones going in and smacking them around. So it's cool to see the inverse in power dynamics there.
And I gotta say it, I am one that enjoys watching the power franchises, eat a little bit of humble pie after the stretches we saw from the Pittsburgh Penguins. I mean, this is a team with multiple cups. You're seeing it with Chicago team, another team that won multiple cups that just doesn't have it anymore. The one thing I did think watching this is they're gonna screw around and get a couple more top end picks before Crosby's tenure is up. That Pittsburgh team looks awful, disinterested, not interested in playing defense whatsoever.
No.
A coach that I think's actually started to quit on him, and I'm wondering if the Jets might have ended his tenure there. There was some goofy stuff happening behind the bench today for Mike Sullivan. Yeah. And the Winnipeg Jets just look like a freight train right from the opening draw. The Pittsburgh Penguins could not handle this team's forecheck today. It was nice to be on the other end of that. We've kind of talked about how when the Jets get themselves in some trouble, it's not being able to handle a forecheck, and we know how ugly that can look. Yep. It is a joy to be on the other side of that. I got to say, that was fun hockey to watch.
Yeah, it was it was really one of the easier games to kind of just sit back and enjoy, never really in doubt, never really in danger. You got to just not have to worry about this one, and they needed that now that they're starting another long stretch of road games. So it was good.
It was definitely good. And those are the games, man. You got to send a message, and I got to say, and we're seeing the chat kind of buzz about it a little bit. that is the type of game I think that you wonder if it leaves a lasting impression in some of those big name pens that maybe become available as we get close to the deadline. Do some of those guys go, oh, I remember that Winnipeg mauling, and with me, that team could win.
I mean, yeah. Although, is Crosby going to want to come to Winnipeg now that he's got a bully and Kyle Connor to deal with?
No one had that on their bingo cards. Anyone that tells me that they had Kyle Connor getting a single Gordie Howe hat trick this year, never mind with that Gordie, he now trails Gordie Howe himself by one.
By one, yep.
And I never thought we'd see a Kyle Connor versus Sidney Crosby scrap, and Kyle Connor gets a good punch in there.
He did.
Maybe that was just like the introduction to some brotherly love to bring him in the room.
They said on the broadcast that, that's going to cost him the Lady Bing this year. But I think losing it to fighting Crosby is worth it. He's got one already in the trophy case at home. If you're going to lose out on it and fight somebody, you get to say you fought Sidney Crosby. I think that's pretty good. I'd take that deal.
I got to say, as somebody that's not big on over glorifying the Lady Bing Award, I fucking love it. That was awesome to watch.
Yep.
Awesome to watch. That's one of those awards for me that, hey, sweet if you get it, but not for me.
Like I said, he's already got it, and now he gets to say he punched Crosby in the face. That's right. That's great.
There you go. And as the Barfly says, Sid could just lay out Kyle at practice after he becomes a teammate. Even it up a little bit. Make it worthwhile.
Can't wait.
But a lot to get into this one. Hard to complain about anybody at this on a night like this. You know what? Let's get to the phone lines early. Let's open that up and let's start diving into the chat. See where everyone's go, because I see a lot of excitement in this chat today. We'll dive into some of the individual plays. Like I see Zero Ghost 8 talking about Gabriel motherfucking Velarde. That is all. And his power play goal. That was just a thing of beauty from the whole group. Oh. You get Josh Morrissey pulling out the spin move at the blue line, finding Kyle Connor. And we were talking a few weeks back, and I remember this was a convo with Max the Silent on this show about how much more dangerous Kyle Connor is when he's patient with that puck, holding on to it and looking to make plays with it.
Yep. On
that goal, Morrissey gets in the puck, and Kyle Connor takes a second, and he draws in both PK guys, where Gabe Velarde finds the open space in the slot where he's most dangerous, and just absolutely picks the corner on that one-timer. Just beautiful execution all the way through. Love to see that. Yep. And right off the bat, that Lowry line, man. Mason Appleton gets on his wheels, creates havoc on, like we said, that Pittsburgh decor. And that team in general had trouble with the forecheck all day. Mason Appleton causes some discomfort. Adam Lowry forces Evgeny Malkin to turn it over right to Nino in front. And right from that shift on, it was just off to the races for this team. What a joy to watch.
Yeah, everybody had the opportunity tonight to kind of showcase a little bit, and nobody really let up on it. It was great. It's exactly what you want to start a road trip, I think. So the guys will be feeling good going into tomorrow.
Absolutely. And Zooch40 says, this was just a complete outclassed game for the Jets. At no point were the Pens in this, even with the refs giving phantom calls, power plays. The refs did definitely keep that game close at the end. Obviously, I know a lot of people weren't too happy with the trip on Iafallo, though I got to say, I have a hard time when I watch what happened on that PK, writing off the PK. That is a breakdown. You see both Sandberg and DeMello battling in the corner, and Razvan Skupari cheats over the board. So one pass beats all three PK guys to create a lane at the net. And I did think the PK was a little leaky today. That was like the one concern coming out of this. Nice finish from Bunting backdoor. And then the Cole Perfetti call, man. I watched the first time, and I was like, did we just see Cole Perfetti get 2 minutes for being too strong, standing up Achari?
Yeah.
Then you see the replay, and it was just two guys running into each other, and Cole Perfetti happened to be the stronger of the two. Are we seeing the Winnipeg Jets become a big, bad, bruising team? I mean, Kyle Connor's scrapping. Cole Perfetti's running people over. Who is this group, man?
They're the bullies now. That's what I'm saying. Everybody's coming at them, and they're the bullies now. This is a new team. I love it. What they did to Florida and what they Because Pittsburgh's not a good team, right? What they've got 7 wins, I think, on the season. Like it's a bad group, but that's what you need to do to a bad group. That's just they did their job. And Hessa 14 in the chat says, nice to see KFC step up as our new enforcer with Stanley out, and is asking also, where is Rutger? There's no where's Rutger chance tonight.
Oh, hey, pretty quiet building over in Pittsburgh today. A lot of empty seats. We hear about that in Winnipeg all the time.
Well,
on the Rutger thing, go for it.
Oh, it was dress up as a seat night. That's why.
It was dress up as a seat night, though. On the Rutger thing, I have it in my notes here too. I was someone, and I still will be someone that defended his personal choice, and I'm happy with how the Jets got out of it with Braden Yager. But what a damning indictment that Rutger McGrody cannot make that team.
Right?
Truly, what a damning indictment. That team is horrible.
It's awful. That bottom 6 is atrocious. And you're telling me there's nowhere that you can find him in the middle 6 somewhere to get some minutes? Either, it's still a personality thing and they don't just want to play him because of it, or there's something we're not seeing. But how you can't get time on that in that lineup is crazy. Although, as Zoosh 40 says, Mike Sullivan might be done after tonight, so it could be a Sullivan thing, right? He was making some questionable choices.
Well, the one that really stuck out to me early in this one was the Winnipeg Jets come out of the gates flying. It's like 7-0 in shots, 6 minutes in. Yep. And the fourth line, after a really productive shift in the O-zone, the fourth line today showed up, and the Pittsburgh Penguins couldn't handle that group. We know they've kind of built an identity. Rasmus Kupari's speed element draws another power play today, which is big. But that line's really found it as far as just a bit of a fourth line identity of getting in, creating havoc, forechecking. Not really an offensive juggernaut, but that line was all over them. And unfortunately, at the end of the shift, they draw it out. They end up icing the puck. And on a team with Evgeny Malkin and Sidney Crosby, Mike Sullivan and staff send out Noel Acciari's fourth line when the momentum is that nasty early in a game. Did not understand that from the other side of things.
Yeah, weird choices. I don't know what message he's trying to send, what he thinks is going to work, but yeah, it's weird to see a guy with 450, whatever it was, NHL wins, making weird calls like that. You've got Crosby and Malkin sitting there, you're chasing. What are you doing?
Yeah, it didn't make a whole lot of sense to me, that's for sure. And going to our usual Toronto Sports Network points out to say that despite the mauling that happened, control of the neutral zone was the key. And this was something I saw real early in this one. We talk almost nightly about the neutral zone being such a tipping point for the Winnipeg Jets. Yep. The Winnipeg Jets did a very, very good job gapping up early. You were seeing it a lot from Neil Pionk. You were seeing it from the top pair, and it was forcing a lot of icings, a lot of turnovers where the Jets just kept taking over control of the play. And you love to see it. It has become a key identity for this group, and when they tilt the ice, and you saw it right from the opening draw tonight, there was no easing into it, no backing off. Nope. This team was as aggressive as it comes in that neutral zone to force such things to happen. Yeah,
we've seen that really in all 3 phases of the game, that the Jets are their best when they're aggressive. When they're playing aggressively in the neutral zone at 5-on-5, that's generally when they win the game. When the penalty kill, is aggressive, we've seen real success there as well. And the power play, which in night and day compared to years past, never stops moving their feet. They're highly aggressive on the power play, and it shows with being number 1 in the league. So, yeah, this is the style of game you want to see from the Jets, right? It's great.
For sure. And some talk over on YouTube that I thought was a key thing in this game that I found interesting. Doug Henderson had said, I wonder if Scheif was injured, not taking any in the circle. Velarde took most draws. And that was something I was really interested to. I also did think Scheif did have a bit of an off night, especially along the boards and stuff. And I was wondering if he was potentially protecting something. Yep. The Barflees points out Velarde did a great job in the dot, which is great to see, to have another guy that could step in and win draws like that. Phyllis does let us know here that as per CGOB, Scheif chose to let Velarde do the faceoffs today. What do you think of that? That's an interesting little nugget.
To me, that screams he's dealing with some type of injury. Something small, right? Not anything to keep him out of a game, but probably something in the wrist area, I would guess, is maybe bothering him, right? So that's That's my guess, because as soon as I saw that Velarde was out there, and he won like his first like 6 faceoffs in a row. He was like 6-0 to start. I went, okay, there's definitely something slightly off, and my guess would be a slight injury, nothing big, nothing to keep him out of a game. But if you're going to go up against experienced centers like Crosby and Malkin all night, you want somebody that is going to be at their best. So that would be my guess. Total conjecture. I don't know. How about you?
I think so too. I do wonder a little bit. We didn't see him shooting as much, and even when he did get off one of those one-timers, he missed by quite a bit. I just do wonder if he was potentially milking something or protecting something, and that's why the draws weren't as pertinent today. I guess we'll find out more as information comes out and see what the next stretch of games kind of looks like. It is something probably to watch here.
Yeah, if it carries over into tomorrow as well, that'll be definitely something to look at, and I would assume one of the media guys will eventually ask at practice.
It very much might be. Zooch40 says, "I love this version of Kyle Connor. He's completely eliminated everything we've picked on. Is Arneal the Connor whisperer?"
So
What do you
far,
think of that?
he has been. If we, when we get to looking at Connor's numbers and things, a little bit later, it's going to be interesting to see. Yeah, I think you might be right there.
And I'll add this too. And credit to Max the Silent, who will be watching at some point. He had tweeted out, "Never mind fighting Sidney Crosby, who had Kyle Connor throwing a reverse hit on the bingo card."
Yeah, no doubt.
That's that exact play we were having that little debate about.
just
And
talked about
Crosby gets fired up, and here we go.
Yep. He didn't like it either. I think he's in your camp with you. It should be interference.
And hey, the way that game's going, you expect a guy as driven as that to take some issue and try and spark something with his team. It's just a fun one to watch. Though I'll say this: I see D-Labs saying it was a stress-free night, and for the most part, it was. It was just a mauling. Yeah. I gotta say, the stress for me got up a little bit during the Perfetti penalty. Didn't think it should have been a call. 2 guys running into each other, but really early in that power play, Carlson and Raquel had a gaping cage, and Raquel missed it. I got a little nervous going to that one just because I thought the PK was a little leaky with some of their seams tonight. It seemed like guys would kind of get overdrawn out, and it would create that space, and I thought Pittsburgh did a pretty good job there.
Yeah, absolutely. They were, you could tell they were maybe feeling in a little bit, and they were leaving that space there, and Pittsburgh did a good job on finding those gaps. So, yeah, there may have been, a slight twinge at that moment, but yeah, the Jets quickly put that back to bed. Looking at the chat real quick, our good friend Choice STK, not sure why Hellebuck got the start tonight. Seemed like a soft spot to start Comrie. How do you feel about Hellebuck tonight and Comrie tomorrow, or vice versa?
I kind of was thinking it would go the other way because, if I'm not mistaken, Nashville's next on the schedule, and you got the divisional game, get a chance to kind of sink a division team. I'm going to guess because, Connor Hellebuck's the guy, and they had multiple days off here in between that, hey, your number one's rested. He's going to take it, though we know the conversation over the course of the year has to be limiting his games. So I do think that is a fair thing to wonder about a little bit here.
Technically, Pittsburgh has more wins than Nashville. So, Nashville is by 1. It's not much, but they both suck. So, it feels, you maybe want to go with the starter in the divisional game, but, Hellebuck may have wanted to play in this one, right? Because they had 2 days off these last 2. He may have wanted to get in and not sit an extra day.
Yeah, no, and that very well could it be what it is. It all obviously works out here in the end. Phyllis comments on the idea of Connor being a Jets whisperer and says on Arnie being a Connor whisperer. Phyllis here says Arnie is the Jets whisperer, and it's kind of hard to argue here.
Yeah, he's given the team a real identity, and they're you can tell they are having a good time out there. They're enjoying playing with each other. So yeah, again, I've got nothing but good things right now to say about Scott Arneal.
Yeah, absolutely. He's been someone we've been raving about all year so far, and that's not going to change here tonight. Also, Phyllis says, by the way, my son and I had an absolute blast at the game Tuesday night. Thank you for the tickets. Hey, thank you for being a part of the community and always supporting the show. Love to reward people that are putting in the time with us. I'm glad you had a great night. That is awesome to hear, and that's what it's all about.
Our good friend DLabs25 in the chat, I should have scrolled down a little bit more, had the same idea before I mentioned it there. Nashville's lower in the standings. It gets them more rest time, right? So, yeah, that was that probably played into it. So, yeah, good call, DLabs.
And over on YouTube, Caleb joins and says, I guess the faceoff swap was because Velarde was killing it at practice and given a shot in the game. And that's an interesting theory in this too, right? We aren't there for practice, and Velarde did look really good between the dots. So much so, it was pitched on YouTube here. I'm trying to find it. Someone asks if Velarde is the 2C we've been looking for all the time.
Ooh. Go out and get a different winger for that line and move Velarde to 2C? Would you try it?
The one thing I would hesitate a little bit, and maybe it's something you want to see a little bit before. I do wonder about the pace a little bit for Velarde as a center. I think it's great to have a second option being able to win draws like that on a line
Agreed.
too. With Scheif, his face-offs are kind of up and down, not necessarily the most elite guy in the circle. So I don't mind just knowing you have that option here.
Yeah. Personally, yeah, I don't think I would want to try him out in that spot. I'm not a big fan of trying to convert established wingers into centers, just in general. But I do love having him go. If he's going to be, getting high percentage in the dot, roll him out there as the guy taking all the faceoffs, and then as the backup, if he gets tossed, is your normal number one center. Yeah, that's great. So that'd be my preferred way. But hey, you never know. Weird things happen, right? Blake Wheeler played center for a stretch.
Yeah, you know what I wouldn't mind seeing, actually? So typically we see Vlad taking ozone draws for the Perfetti and Ehlers group.
Right.
And this is something I was talking to Tony about a few weeks back. And Arnie's not scared to go two centers for D-zone draws. Like we saw Kupari take a draw with Nemeskov and Ehlers again today in the D-zone. I wouldn't mind seeing a guy like Velarde take a shot at some center for ozone draws where Vlad isn't the strongest center. You're kind of doing the opposite of the D side where you're trying to value the offensive side. Just an idea.
Yeah, the old Jim Slater, get out there, do the face off, and get off.
Yep. But we got a caller.
We got a caller. Hey, caller, thanks for holding. You're on the landing strip. What's your name? What would you like to talk about?
Hi there. I got here a little bit late. My name's Miranda. I got here a little late. I don't know if we talked about the fight that happened. I thought it was pretty energetic. It was pretty exciting.
Yes, yeah, Go ahead, Nick.
No, go for it, Mikey.
Yeah, we were just kind of we're talking about it a few minutes ago. It was actually pretty good. You gotta have a scrap in with two guys you don't normally see it with. And for Kyle Connor, he gets to, put on his resume now that he punched Sidney Crosby in the face. So I don't know. I thought that was pretty great.
I gotta say, I love to see two star players scrap just based on emotion, and that was one of them. So, hey, that's the type of moment in a game I love to see, especially from a guy like Kyle Connor, who you would not expect it from. It's just showing another aspect of his game and how bought in and invested he is to this team right now. It's obvious every night.
All right. Well, thanks for taking my call. Have a good night, boys.
Thank you so much. Good night.
Thanks for the call, Miranda. Over on YouTube, we have a first-time chatter, Ice Mel Great. First-time chatter, but listening along on the podcast every episode. Keep up the stellar content. You know the team is hopeless when KFC and Fets are knocking them on their backs. Thank you very much for the compliment. Really appreciate hearing those kind words. We will definitely keep it coming, and you definitely know a team is in trouble when KFC is one punch in one of the greatest hockey players in the world, and Fets is just running over fourth-line centers.
Yep.
It's just a lot to be excited about and things you wouldn't necessarily expect to see from the Winnipeg Jets.
So DLabs25 in the Twitch chat, I guess, is watching the post-game stuff going on, and said Connor just responded with, "We aren't taking shit from anyone," when asked about his fight. So
I love it.
That's pretty great. That's what you want to hear. Quote of the year from KFC says Zero Go State.
And we were talking about it. There was a post-practice presser that really stood out to me with him really taking a leadership role. Not something I really saw from him in years past. And then we listened to Cheveldayoff on Frank's podcast, really talking about KFC taking a leadership role within the room. That's the type of stuff you love to hear from guys like that who you aren't expected to necessarily dive into the fisticuffs like that. Now, I don't expect it to be a normal thing, and I'd like
Nope.
his risks to stay intact so he
Yes.
could keep scoring those goals. I mean, pretty cool, though. Kyle Connor could say he's only one Gordie Howe hat trick behind Gordie Howe himself.
New power forward, Kyle Connor. That's what's going on here. Zooch40 points out in the chat that for once the Jets didn't let someone achieve their milestone. No Crosby.
Yes, and that's a
600
big
tonight.
one. That's a big one. I'm going to say degenerate Nick missed on this one. I added the Crosby goal to the parlay tonight. It was the only miss. I'm used to this team giving up those milestones, and I was like, why not have a Mount Rushmore player do it against the best goalie of a generation? Great to see the Winnipeg Jets keep a star player's milestone off the board. We're used to being in those conversations.
Yeah, I have so much PTSD from allowing these things to happen in the past, especially against teams like Pittsburgh and Washington. So yeah, it was nice to see that for once. No, they shut that down. I thought for sure it was coming for Sid tonight.
I thought so too. Zooch40 also points out, let's also take a minute to also recognize the Jets are actually 25-3-0 in their last 28 regular season games dating back to last year. And it just continues to build on the narrative that this Winnipeg Jets team is the real deal, and they deserve from their GM the big swing this year. That's what I take out of that. They're doing it over 2 consecutive seasons now. They're 17-3-0 through 20 games, which to me is just absurd still. Kevin Cheveldayoff, it's time to bring out the big hammer, buddy. It is time to give this team that boost this year.
Yeah, we talked about, like, if there's ever going to be the time, this is it. This feels different. They've got, there's just a different feeling about this group. They've banked all these points early to start. Now it's time to go out and find that big ad, take their time, go out, look wherever it is. Whenever you find that deal, just make it, pay that price, and load up. Let's go. This is the year. This is the team to do it with.
And I saw AJ earlier asking in the chat, do we still want Malkin as a 2C? The one thing I really had trouble, I was trying to watch some guys on Pitt. They're such a disorganized mess. It is hard to evaluate what you want out of that team right now. Like, there is no structure to their game. It seems like they've just given up. That looked like a team that quit on a coach. And listening to Sawyer talk about how Sullivan wouldn't even say a word on the bench, it feels like tonight might have been the official blow-up of the Mike Sullivan timeline in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't follow the Pens super close anymore, but there's a lot of calls. I like during the games, I like to go and scroll through the social media of the opposing team always, just to see what the vibe is on the other side, right? See what they're seeing, what they're mad about. And a lot of the complaints from Pens fans tonight on social media were all about Mike Sullivan. So, yeah, there's definitely unrest in the fan base and with some of the local media out there for sure. And with a performance like this tonight with some boneheaded decisions, I wouldn't be surprised either to see if that's the end of the tenure soon.
Yeah, we shall see. Caleb with a really interesting theory on YouTube as to the Hellebuck start tonight rather than Nashville. And that is, Caleb says, I'm wagering Helly started tonight because of the milestone, notch on his belt, keeping Crosby off the score sheet.
Ooh, I like that.
That's a cool theory.
Yeah, I'll accept that in my head as true now. I like that a lot.
Yeah, sending the GOAT of this generation out to stop Sidney Crosby. I like that too. I do. D-Lab says, is Kyle Connor a top-line player for the U.S. now at Four Nations? Very well might be. Yeah. I think that U.S. team is going to be really, really good. I don't know if it's a team you're going to look at and really say, that's line 1, that's line 2, that's line 3. They're going to be quite the load to handle. And you know what I'd like to really see Kyle Connor play next to for that tournament?
Who?
Jack Eichel.
Ooh, yeah.
There's a center I think would really jive with Kyle Connor's game.
Yeah, that would be nice. That would work real well. Eichel's, he's got that Scheifele mold, just better.
Mm-hmm. He's got the two-way impact, and he is such a smooth skater on transition that I think he could do a lot of work as far as getting Connor into the ozone where Kyle Connor is going to be dangerous. I think that could be a real fun pairing for the United States team if they were to go that way.
You're going to be cheering for the States at this, aren't you? Hellebuck, Connor. I'm going to find you in a USA jersey. I know it.
I got to say, part of me is all about the Connor Hellebuck legacy.
Yeah.
And that is the big difference between the two teams going into that tournament. Of course, I got the Canadian pride and want the Canadian team to win, but the U.S. does have a lot of my favorite guys. I will admit that.
Yeah, I agree. It's true, right? It's hard to cheer against Connor Hellebuck, but it'll be easier though when Sam Montembeault is going to be the Canadian starter. So don't worry, we'll be all right. I know it's a little rough right now.
Yeah, it's a little rough right now. Some interesting talk actually this week with Friedman that Joey Decord might qualify as Canadian for the tournament. Might be a name to watch.
Interesting. Has he not played for? I guess I don't know what their rules are, right? For appearances, that'll be interesting to watch. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think they said his dad's from Vancouver was kind of the gist there.
Okay. Yeah.
Jet-centric with an interesting one. Monty going to revive the Pens, and me and Mikey were talking about it before the game or before coming on. I think the Habs should probably go get Montgomery or Sullivan if he's available and dump Martin St. Louis. If they want to take over a young, talented, up-and-coming team, I think that would be the play to go.
Yeah, absolutely. If Monty is willing to sign in season, I'd be giving him all of the money at the moment to bring him into Montreal. He's exactly what that roster would need to kind of revive that situation.
And Tom Dayton joins the chat. Good to see you, Tom. Who's an impending UFA D-man or center on a non-playoff team that's really a trade up? Seems like a weak pool this year. And so far, that's kind of the talk we're hearing from the insiders, too. I saw LeBrun this week talking about Ivan Provorov potentially being the best rental D available. And we do know the Winnipeg Jets have had interest in Ivan Provorov dating back to when Laine was still in town. There was a bit of a rumor there. Yep. Interesting one there. I don't know if he's the piece they need. The teams I'm really hopeful of, and it's a big if, are teams like Calgary to fall out of it, and guys like Rasmus Anderson potentially becoming available on a 1.5-year deal. The dream for me continues to be Mackenzie Weegar, though I do think that really is unrealistic given his contract. I think Calgary would be kind of nuts moving on from that. But it is tough to say. As far as center, it seems like Brock Nelson, if the Islanders keep stuttering, might be the big name up the middle as a rental.
Yep.
It's been an interesting start for a lot of teams that I think will have a much better idea of it come late December, early January as teams continue to falter and not necessarily find it.
Yeah, we I love my yearly stat of teams in the playoffs at American Thanksgiving. It's become a big cliche, but it's you get about an 75 to 80%, right, of the teams that are in. So that's really what I'm going to start looking, right? Yeah, next week. And then, but seriously, you're going to want to wait until, January. In terms of Brock Nelson, you want a one-stop shop with the Islanders and just get Nelson and Ryan Pulock and just call it a deadline?
It would be hard to complain about that deadline. You'd have to probably move some money out in it, but hey, that's an interesting one because you get the rental center. Yep. And you got some centers on the way. And you get the long-term right-handed D. Mikey, I like what you're thinking here, man.
That's kind of what I'm hoping for at the moment. Outside of course, Mackenzie Weegar, as you mentioned, has always been the dream ad if you're going to nab somebody out of the West. But yeah, as the Islanders continue to suck, I wonder if you can one-stop shop over there and see what you can do.
It would be interesting, and the Jets do have some talent in the A that the Islanders might be interested if they want some guys in the near term.
Right.
Fat Tony kind of builds on my Connor Eichel take with adding Kachuk to that line. Now that would be a handful.
Ooh, that'll be fun.
That would.
Well, here's a question that you'll absolutely love. Trapinator wants to know: does Pionk make the USA roster? 5th in Norris voting.
Was old Bill from Transcona onto something at the beginning of the year? Am I going to have to write an apology letter to old Bill? I still have trouble. I have trouble envisioning that. I really do.
Yeah. That'll be.
We'll see. He's having a great start. We'll see. I thought it was another strong game for Neil Pionk today.
Yep.
Some interest, probably right stuff in the chat too on Provorov. Ivan isn't coming here since his pride bullshit, and D-Lab saying Jets wouldn't risk the PR debacle. I could see that being reality.
yeah.
So it's interesting to see which ones do become available. Turd Ferguson makes an interesting point here. Before the year, there was a lot of talk about Rasmus Anderson potentially being the next captain in Calgary. Now, obviously, they kept what's his name, the center there, ends up getting it. Blanking on his name here. He's been there forever. Michael Backlund ends up getting the C. But this is an interesting theory from Turd here saying, would moving Uyghur, however, open up big cap space to keep the homegrown Rasmus Anderson? Something to think about.
Ooh. Yes, it is. Well, let's tell them. Yes. The answer is yes, it would. So perfect. Let's do it. Sold.
Yeah, Conroy, do it. Conroy, do it. I love where Zuch's brain is going here, but I think this would be one of the unrealistic names to throw out there. Robert Thomas from St. Louis. That's going to be a key building block for those St. Louis Blues. Still young, one of the better playmakers in the league, but I do think that that's not a guy that's going to be moving anywhere.
Especially since he just signed that long-term contract.
But exactly. Speaking of playmaking, I saw earlier in the chat, Hulk was talking about the idea of the Winnipeg Jets really playmaking better and creating better offense. I thought this was another example of it. The one thing we were talking about the last few weeks at 5-on-5, it seemed like the one look that they would consistently try and get was that low to high pass, which we do know is dangerous. I saw a little bit more today. Like one thing that I liked was seeing some of the D finding the seams down to the back door. There was a lot more efforts to get to the slot and create from the slot. So you have seen the last couple of games them start to generate a bit better at 5-on-5. We'll see if that's competition related, like today, like Pittsburgh. That had to be the worst defensive team I've seen yet.
Yes.
With what they were giving up. But it is still
question.
encouraging to see the Jets finding different ways to create at 5-on-5.
Yeah. That's what you want, right? It's, again, you can only beat the team put in front of you. And yeah, they were real bad defensively. And that's what you want to see them do to those bad teams. So yeah, no, that was definitely what you want to see. HLL Living Loco, hello Harrison, comes in yelling, vibes are wild and out. Somebody enjoyed that one tonight.
The vibes are definitely wild. Like who doesn't enjoy a Friday like today? The GOAT in rap and hip hop releases a new mixtape album in Kendrick Lamar. If you haven't listened to that yet, do yourself a favor. And then the Winnipeg Jets just take the boots to the Pittsburgh Penguins. Someone like you mentioned earlier, back in the old days of the Atlanta version of this franchise, used to take the shit out of this franchise.
Yeah. It's I still get PTSD a little bit when I see Pittsburgh on the schedule before I remember and I look at the standings and go, oh no, wait, it's okay, everything's fine, and then I see the lineup and I go, oh yeah, no, it's all right, we'll be okay.
Yeah, exactly. They just weren't very good today. Fat Tony says, every time I watch a Jets game with my 15-year-old walks in to check the game, he always asks, why the fuck is Pionk in front of the net, other team's net? Happened again today on the Vlad goal. Neil Pionk driving the other way, creating havoc in the offensive zone. And I like to see a team attack with 4 forwards. And Neil Pionk's great at providing that extra guy. Hey, if it's going to keep working like it is right now, sign me up for more of it.
Yep, absolutely. As long as the results are coming this way, I'll live on that edge with Pionk.
On that Vlad goal, talk about a lazy play from my boy Eric Carlson on the back check. The puck gets rang around there, and Nick Ehlers is smart to pick up the pace to the neutral zone and then slow right down to create that odd man situation. And love to see Vlad get his own rebound. It's goals like that, the second efforts, that the team's kind of locked in. They're not driving past that opportunity in the slot. It's good to see. Even over on YouTube, Brendan Matheson points out at 5-on-5, according to Money Puck, the expected goals tonight, 2.68 for Winnipeg, 0.86 for the Winnipeg Jets. So at 5-on-5, near flawless game. Don't even allow an expected goal. If you just look at the individual numbers, the lowest player on the Winnipeg Jets today by expected goals was Gabe Vilardi at 65%. That's a thrashing.
That is an absolute, it was complete domination. The result was never in doubt. That was just absolutely incredible. Again, our good friend HLL Living Loco, really rooting for our Neil, from being badly disparaged and shit on by clowns like Commodore to showing the growth and understanding needed to move the team forward. What a story so far.
And how could anyone dispute it?
Yep, absolutely.
It's been a great story, and he's getting the love in some of those early votes. Him and Hellebuck leading the way in Vezina and Coach of the Year. Something that tends to pair up with each other, but
Yep, absolutely. At the moment he's going to run away with the Jack Adams. Oh, we got another call.
let's talk.
Caller, you're on the landing strip. What would you like to talk about?
Hey there, boys. It's AJ. Great stuff. Love listening to you guys. Driving home from a birthday party, got to see some of the game there. But in typical fashion, Nick, I'm going to kind of derail it here. I want to get your thoughts and kind of put out here and see what Tony might think about this as well. So the new rules with the CHL players able to go down to the NCAA where they've opened it up. We've kind of stayed away from having a Canada NDTP team up here before because the CHL has kind of controlled things, but it looks like we're losing a little leverage to the States. Is it time that we get our own national team program the same way the U.S. does?
Really interesting question, and I personally have to dive more into the little details of all these mergers going on and all these situations. So I don't think I could provide the best answer for you right now, though I like the concept, especially seeing how much the U.S. program has grown. Now, part of that is the U.S. hockey base is really growing. Like me and you have talked about a lot. You've looked up a lot of the numbers in some of those southern areas that aren't traditional markets, and hockey is really starting to take off in the States. And with such a pool of talent now starting to play the game, I do think we're always going to potentially be a step behind just from the numbers aspect moving forward. But it is an interesting idea, and I'd like to understand it more before kind of providing a better, more rounded opinion on it. What are you thinking? I know you're really into the junior ranks here.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm always just thinking like how people are going to try and get around things and how that does affect the Jets, right? I mean, I remember people aren't really going to care about this name now, but Tucker Poolman, was he going to come? Was he going to try and get his way out? So now I'm curious, with even players, if the Jets say, hey, we're only going to draft local, I mean, obviously the Jets are good right now. It's a place to kind of be, but you want to get a bunch of Saskatoon and Red Deer boys to come. But then if they can just, swap over the eligibility and then go to a college and then sort of get out of it the way some of those college players have, I'm not sure about those rules yet, but feels like, people are going to look for loopholes. And if it's to stay out of a market like Winnipeg or get out of it, it just kind of changes things. But yeah, I'm just thinking about how Canada can leverage, because you guys are talking about the Four Nations, right? Earlier there as well. So just thinking about sort of national pride and building the thing. And yeah, the CHL had that market kind of covered, but it seems like the college route, provides some other opportunities in a different way to some of these players now coming out of the CHL. So yeah, just a lot of moving parts, right? I know it's kind of early to comment on it, but kind of, it's fun to kind of spitball and kind of be ahead of the conversation and ask the questions before others do too. So I don't know, I'm just kind of curious, but yeah, I'm sure we'll have some more conversations and obviously how it ties into the Jets and the prospects in the future too. So yeah, I didn't have too much else. I just thought, yeah, it's kind of an interesting concept that you got me thinking about there. So.
And I know you were asking about Tony's opinion on it. I see he typed it out, so I'll just say it out loud for the entire podcast. Tony's take on it is, I think AJ lies about his height and no to a national team short-term win for high-end drafted players and World Junior Championship, but hurts the depth long-term. That's interesting. He also says,
Yeah.
I also don't think CHL will lose players trying to avoid teams in the NHL. Guys want to get their ASAP. Well, most guys. So an interesting little counter to the idea of too much defects down to college.
For sure. Yeah, and that's what I'm looking for, the counter, right? Because you just, when the landscape changes, you go, now does it change? What changes? So I knew Tony would have an interesting thing to say, and I am 6 feet tall. I'm not any taller than 6 feet. I'm not any shorter. I'm 6 feet tall, right on the dot. So I am not a liar. One day I'll meet you, Tony, and we could have it out in person. But thanks for your comment there, Tony. Appreciate it. So anyhow, I just figured I'd add that. And yeah, great job tonight, guys. Fun listening to you guys on the drive home. So.
Hey, thanks for calling in. It's always nice to hear where your mind's taking you. It's always an interesting discussion, and thanks for the kind words. We appreciate it.
All right, take care. Great job. Bye-bye.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to We'll definitely have to
Go
take
for
a
it.
look into the nuances of the deal now to see how it's going to work. Because I'm curious to see if there's a way to help push along the national program. But the other part of it too is it's not so much that Canada's falling behind in things. It's just that other nations are getting better and catching up so much, right? So there's that side of it as well. But it's curious. We got another call.
Yeah, let's go. Let's go to the phones.
Hey, caller, what's your name and what would you like to talk about?
How's it going?
What's going on?
Nothing much, man. I just quit my job today, so I'm not doing too good.
What happened there?
Oh, dude, a lot. Let me tell you.
All right. Well, I hope that caller feels better and gets a new job.
Hey, if the caller's a Jets fan, hopefully a game like tonight made them feel a little bit better about the day. I got to answer Mark here. I know he's trolling me. Nick lies about his height too. I make no bones about it. I am 5'10" on the dot, maybe 5'10" and a half on a good day. I'm not lying about anything here.
There you go. Proud of your height.
Exactly, man. We didn't quite make 6 feet, but that's my parents' fault. Okay. So more chat about. Looks like the caller has inspired some record chat. So in case it was missed earlier, let's dive in a little bit more. Gilbert Marion, who's a frequent listener and commenter on YouTube, appreciate all the time he puts in. Says, "Where was Rucker?" And Caleb says, "How well is Rucker's decision not coming to Winnipeg working out? He's got a part-time job at Dunder Mifflin at this point." And if the AHL season keeps going the way it is for him, it might be a full-time job at Dunder Mifflin.
Yup, it's going to be rough if he can't crack that lineup. We got another caller. Hey, caller, you're on the landing strip.
Hey, guys. It's Brendan from Alberta. Just calling in. Want to get your guys' opinion. There's a lot of talk about trying to get a new 2C, right, Nick? But in my mind, this team needs to develop a new number 1 center, because I don't know how much longer Mark Scheifele is going to be that 1C going forward, where you can really depend on him to be that all-around offense. And I mean, like, the defense hasn't really been there long term, but you're seeing it more lately, right? But at the end of the day, you're going to have somebody that replaces him a little bit.
And I think you nail it there, especially if they do want this window to prolong. They will really need to see Jaeger or Lambert take a really big jump and potentially be that. I'm kind of looking at it right now and kind of forecasting the idea that they might have 2 high-end 2Cs going into that stretch rather than a true 1C. So I'm kind of seeing the same thing you are. And I do wonder how that will play out, though maybe one of those kids does surprise us and takes a bigger jump than expected. But I do think when looking into the future here, I do think you do nail that.
Yeah, you got, 7 more years of Scheifele, including this year. So that's 6 years afterwards. And he's like, eventually he's going to have to move down the lineup. Like, he's a good player, and I really enjoy watching him play. He's got obviously great chemistry with Kyle Connor. There's a lot of positive things that go on there, and he's taken a step forward in his leadership this year. I mean, like, you saw the response with that fight in the Florida game after the 5-0 loss with Ekblad, and then just the response in the game after, kind of upping his game with the hat trick. So like, those are positive things that you can use to move forward in this season. But going forward 2, 3, 4 years down the road, I don't know. Like, you can't just keep trying to, we need a trade for another 2C, trade for another 2C. I think it has to come from internal, and it has to be a guy that you're developing as a role to not be a 2C, but to be the next 1C.
Mm-hmm. No, hard to disagree. I'll throw out a little take for you here, how I'm kind of looking at it is, I think, and I see Fat Tony commenting this as well, that the Jets' real window is the next 2 years, and Chevy should focus on that. So I'm kind of of the mindset of two things here, because I do think the Winnipeg Jets will be cognizant of that future. And I kind of talked about this on the last show, where I believe the Jets should probably make a decision this year on who they are higher on moving forward between Braden Yeager and Lambert. And I think they have to be willing to move the other one to help this year and next year if you can get a player with maybe an extra year term, because they kind of are in that spot, right, where we know it's a very quality team clearly, but if they're going to actually take that step and win a cup, it has to be now before those contracts age, kind of like what you're talking about. So it is a really interesting dilemma here. I'm starting to feel more comfortable with Yeager than Lambert, and would be willing to shop maybe a Lambert for a big piece this year, though I'm looking more at the top pair right side. But it's definitely a dilemma coming quicker than I think many realize with the center thing, and I think it's a great point.
Yeah, speaking of that, DeMello has just been struggling with his puck skills. I mean, like, he's great defensively still. I mean, like, the stick-on-stick, body-on-body kind of defenseman, but when he's moving it right now, it looks like he's dealing with a rubber stick instead of a carbon fiber twig.
Yeah, it's definitely been tough sledding for DeMello, and I'm kind of looking at this now, and we'll see if it continues trending, because coming into the year, I was more worried about the second pair than the first pair, and it's kind of been a reverse of that through 20. So I'm almost wondering if you go find Morrissey a partner and have DeMello, because of what's kind of going on in his game, eventually be that third pairing right-handed D when all is said and done. What do you think of that?
Yeah, DeMello sliding down makes a lot of sense to me. I still kind of have Elias Salamonson kind of slotted into that role in my mind going forward. So
Yep.
I don't know about trading for a guy, because he looks like he's got a bit of offensive upside down with the Moose right now. I think he's tied for their team lead or one off their team lead in scoring. And he can definitely add a little bit offensively, as well as I know he's a 20-year-old, so like you haven't seen him play in the NHL. He's an unproven commodity, but that's the kind of guy that you kind of pegged for the Dylan Sandberg kind of path, where he hopefully breaks in the next, 20 games and gets some time in the NHL to kind of prove what he has.
Hey, I like that thought too. I continue to be very high on Elias myself. So if we got to see a bit of a runaway before the deadline to make that kind of decision, sounds good to me, man.
Yeah, the points banked right now really kind of give Chevy and Arneal the space to try and see what they have in some of those younger players, like a Salamonson, a Chibrikov, and a Lambert, and try and really maybe work them into a lineup every once in a while. I mean, like, because they're guys you can move up and down from the minors without needing waivers, right? So having games where you can work them in a softer part of the schedule that really try and, introduce them into the NHL and see what they can do.
Hey, I'm right there with you. I think it's a great idea. It also, like, there's always a discussion around prospects, whether you want to bring them in when a team is struggling and you want to throw them into the room in that situation, or if you want to bring them into a situation that's ready-made, the team's humming, systems in place, and the Jets definitely have the positive side to bring in a guy. So I would not mind seeing them use it that way, especially in a softer part of the schedule where you could bring them up for a couple games and give guys some nights off if guys are nicked up. Just with this start, there would be no need to really force guys playing through injuries as you're gearing up for the deadline. So I like using the Moose and the prospects in that way to kind of see what you have before going into the deadline. I think it would just be smart info gathering as well.
Yeah, there really has to be some kind of strategic way that they can get them in, because Chevy's a really smart guy. He doesn't plan just for this year. He's always thinking 2, 3, 4 years down the road in the way he does his business with his contracts and his player development. So, like, if he's going to do that, like, I don't see why working them in in an environment where the team is winning. They have a good culture in the room right now. You've got a lot of guys that can kind of help ease them into the NHL, mentor them in what they need to do, and not have all the pressure on the world be like, oh, we brought this guy up because of an injury, so he needs to fix our locker room, fix our lineup. No, just like let him work himself in, find his legs in the NHL, and prove themselves when the team is winning and doing all the right things.
Hey, I appreciate the call, and I'm right there with you. I like the idea of it, like the concept of it, and I see over on Twitch, Choices points out that the stretch starting December 3rd is a interesting spot in the schedule where you could potentially do that. We'll see where they go. I do think I would be pretty surprised to see it. I think Caleb on YouTube kind of nails it, saying they won't call up anyone unless Villy gets some runway. There would have to be injuries just based on them probably not wanting to rock the boat. It's an interesting dilemma, and I tend to lean on where you're thinking, because at the end of the day, we want to see where this team can be its best come the playoffs, come post deadline. And I think having all that information helps you make more informed decisions. But we'll see what this team decides to do. Appreciate you taking the time to call in. Love the conversation. You have yourself a great night over in Alberta.
Yeah, you guys too, and repping the Top Line Fraud Squad hoodie tonight.
Let's go. Appreciate it. Love the support. Thank you very much. Thanks for being a part of this tonight. Going back into the chat, Fat Tony said, wait, Scheifele fought Ekblad, one of his best friends? Yeah, it was a bit of a slow dance. Not really a fight, but they did drop him. Zuch, listening to that call, kind of says DeMello, Heinola, third pair. That's what I kind of envision if all things go well.
Looking at the schedule real quick, I think the home stretch starts December 8th. It starts December 8th. Before that, the 3rd, they're one game at home on the 3rd, and then they're on the road for a couple. And then they're back at home for a long stretch starting December 8th. So that could be a good spot there.
Could use it as load management too, right? If guys are nicked up, like we're going to be kind of watching the Scheifele thing now with the face-offs and see if something's going on with the hand or whatever.
Yep.
Could be a situation if there's a guy that's at risk of a further injury when you have such a lead built up that maybe you give a couple nights off to rest it. I do have trouble seeing them go about it that way, but I do like the thought process behind it.
It's a new world. It's a new NHL. You never know. Maybe we'll start seeing interesting things like that.
Some funny comments over on YouTube about the jobless call. Can we call in for career advice, says Stuart Ferguson. And Caleb says, Top Line Life Coaching presented by From Financial. Mikey, we might have another show to be adding to the mix here.
That will be the late night show. Please join in. We'll solve all your problems.
Top Line After Dark, eh?
Top Line After Dark.
Choices TK mentions fan base will riot. They are both going to be stars. I imagine that's about Lambert and Yeager. And I saw Fat Tony talking about the idea of Elias would have to be a part of a Uyghur deal. And to all of that, guys, I say it's time to shit or get off the pot.
Yep, you just do it. There's really no untouchable at the end of the day if the right player is coming back. There's nobody in the group that is, quote unquote, generational at the moment. We've got some really good lottery chips in. We've got some guys that could strike and, be something. But right now is the window. This is the time. Going back to what the other caller had said about Scheifele, is this team good enough to win a Stanley Cup with Scheifele playing on the top line? Yeah, with enough support on the second line, they are. They are absolutely good enough to do that this year and probably next year. After that, the question is going to start to really have to be asked, right? So I think this is the time you push all the chips in, find that player that'll fit. I really wish the NHL did a little bit more. How like in baseball, you'll get guys for a year and a half sometimes, right? You're looking at a rental that's not just this half a season. That's this year and next year, and I feel like that's exactly what the Jets should be trying to find at center if they can, if that kind of player is out there, because that's what they need, I think.
I agree. And when you look at this farm system, even looking at some of the TSN's under 24 rankings, it's a good crop of B-rated prospects, and for me, B-rated prospects are not the type of guys that are seen as untouchable in this league.
Agreed. Yep. We got another caller. Hey, caller, you're on the landing strip. What's your name? What would you like to talk about? Oh, all right. They jumped off.
That's okay. HH Living Local says this feels like one of those truly special years, and the Jets would be insane not to take the shot. And that's the thing. Like, I've really started to come around on the idea. Like, the one thing you really look to judge quality hockey teams is stringing together strong regular season after strong regular season after strong regular season, because we know 82 games and being able to compete over 82 games is telling of how a team could be, how good a team is. Yeah, I mean, the playoffs is a 7-game series, right? It's a lot different environment. But the Winnipeg Jets came 4th in the NHL at 110 points. They're pacing over that this year. They've earned it. It's time.
Yep, it's time. And to address Trapinator's concern about not getting to see Villy play a season with the Jets, I don't count Villy as one of the prospects anymore. I'm not including him in that group. I think they aren't either. He's part of the roster, in my opinion, and I'm not taking away from the NHL roster. So if he can be quote unquote untouchable if you still consider him a prospect, but I don't. He's a roster player to me.
I wouldn't have him untouchable.
Do you think? They would? Yeah.
If he's on the fringe of being like a 6'7", of course you throw him in.
I don't think he's going to be. I think he'll be in the top 4.
Woo! Okay, I like it, Mikey. I like it. Yeah. Fat Tony, caller might have got a call about a job. Had to hang up. Yeah, but hey, we've been going for an hour, and this was I really enjoyed this between the banter in the chat, the calls tonight. Thank you to everyone that was a part. Mikey, let's go to the 3 stars and let's get on with our Friday night. What do you think?
Right on. Let's do it.
Who are you thinking in this one?
So this was just a wild outclassing of teams. So mine are going to be a little bit different tonight. For the 3rd star, I'm giving it to the Jets power play, just in general. Another goal tonight. Continue to lead the NHL. I'm just going to give it out to them on the 3rd star. 2nd star, I'm going to give it to... Oh, no, I lost my spot. I lost my 2nd star. That's okay. 1st star, I'm going to give it to the chat tonight because this was just an awesome show. This was a lot of fun. We had some great discussions from everybody. So they're getting my number 1 star. The Jets were just better than Pittsburgh all around tonight. So that's what I've got.
Some good comments
I found it. Gabe Velarde's my 2nd star. Gabe Velarde with the taking the face-offs tonight from Mark Scheifele. I thought was a real interesting wrinkle, and he did a great job of it. So, yeah, sorry, Gabe, I found it here. Gabe was my 2nd.
Jet-centric wants the fans to be the number 1 star, as usual. Love it. And Trapinator says their 1st star was the half-empty arena. I got to go with 3rd star. I'm going to go with Nino Niederreiter. Gets this team on the board early. Has a really simplified game to him. Was big on the forecheck. You know what? I'm going to go give Nino Niederreiter there. I'm going to go 2nd star, hey? I'm going to go... You know what? I'm going to go with Nick Ehlers.
Ooh.
Obviously, was only on the score sheet. I believe it was for one assist there tonight. 1 assist on the Nemestikov line. But I thought he was really engaged in the D zone and really making the plays that maybe concern you with him. In some nights, I thought he was really engaged in this one, was really all over the puck. And number 1, I got to go with the Gordie Howe hat trick. Now trails Gordie Howe by 1. Kyle fucking Connor.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Thank you to the chat. We will see you tomorrow, right?
Yeah, we'll be back tomorrow afternoon after the Jets put a beating on the Nashville Predators. Make sure you guys are all following us on YouTube, out on Facebook. We're on Blue Sky now. I just got there today. So come give me a follow over there. Nick's already on there, and he's blue skiing, skiing, skeeting. I don't know what we're calling that yet. But Nick's out there, and, he's got the best opinions. It's always a good time. So come follow us. Make sure you like and subscribe, all that kind of fun stuff. And, we'll see you guys tomorrow.
See you guys.
Outclassed.